Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about old models, 20-year-old models, 30-year-old models, and compare them to the new modern day Games Workshop sculpt. Because there's been a lot of talking about it online and I thought, you know what, let's have a painting perspective of these miniatures rather than just a gobshite. Yes, so I've been slowly building up my Bretonnian army, which are including a lot of miniatures coming from about 2003, maybe a little bit older. I'll have to check the sprue, but they're definitely over 20 years old. And I thought what would be really cool is to have a little chat about these older miniatures, what I like about them, and from my perspective as a painter rather than a gamer. And how cool they are, and then compare it to the newer models. And I'm going to use the new Cities of Sigmar models as a good comparison to this, and sort of hold them side by side. I'm going to build a man at arms while talking about this, so we'll be able to sort of have a little look at that, and then we're going to be sort of just compare, because there's been a lot of said, like content creators such as Hellstorm Wargaming decide to make a lot of comment about how long it takes to build these miniatures and how bad the mold lines are. Now, I will point out straight away that if you're building any form of plastic miniature, you're always going to get mold lines. It doesn't matter how modern or new that kit is, you're going to get mold lines. It's unless you've got literally the first handful of sprues that come off that die, you're going to get mold lines. It's as simple as that. But let's see firsthand exactly what the mold lines are like as I build a man-at-arms soldier, and then we're going to compare the miniature from the one that I've built, my bowman that I've already built, and compare it to a new modern 2020, it's definitely made in the 2020s, Cities of Sigmar miniature, which are probably really cool kits in regards to the new plastics. So I'm going to flip the camera and we're going to have a little look at it. Okay, so here is the new Cities of Sigmar steel helms. Probably one of the nicest sort of kits that Games Workshop have made, and it kind of comes in a couple of parts. You've got the arms, the shield, the head, and I believe the body for this come in like two parts. You kind of have this leg here, and the joint is just there at the sort of down the back of his bum. And I have obviously been building my bowman. There's a little bit of stuff here, but all in all, they are pretty simple to build. There's literally one piece model, and you have the head. If you want to see the painting video for this guy, it's up on the channel now. You can go and check that out, and you go and watch that. So what I thought would be a really good idea is if I literally build. Let's just get rid of all of this. If I literally build a men-at-arms, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get clippers, we're going to get all the stuff down, and we're going to start building a man-at-arms and having a little look. So we're going to go for this guy here, because he looks pretty cool. Just going to build a bog standard men-at-arms and talk about how cool these miniatures are. So one of the things that you're going to notice straight away is they are multi-part, but they're also pretty much quite limited in parts. So you've basically got your main body, your head, and your shield, and an arm, which is a weapon arm, which we get off the other sprue. And this is basically your halberd. So obviously this here. So we're going to get this off, and we're going to look at firsthand of how bad these mold lines are. And now bearing in mind, we can even check the date on this sprue to what date it is. Let's just have a little look at what date these are. So these were made. Does it have a date? No, it doesn't have a date on. These ones do not. Oh no, yes they do. They have a date right here. So these were made back in 2003. Alright? So these are basically over 20 years old. So as miniatures go, that's pretty old. So we're going to get some knife, we're going to get glue. Also got a little bit of my little base. We're just going to clean these up. So now straight away, you can look down and there is a little mold line there, but let's be fair, that is not that bad. As mold lines go, that mold line is not that terrible. I've seen way worse from other kits that Games Workshop have made, and quite frankly, you know, Mikey made this statement, and he makes some outlandish statements. I'm still waiting for you to remove the gatekeepers from the Horus Heresy community, Mikey. One day you may fulfill that oath that you made. I'm also still waiting for you to actually make Horus Heresy content, but sure, I understand that you're a busy, influential content creator, and that obviously you've got priorities for other things. But yes, this miniature is not hard to clean up. I'm just using a craft knife, just getting rid of that little mold line. It's not necessarily very hard to do. It's very quite simple, really, and it's the amount of material coming off it is not that bad. Now, I did build some of the Tomb Kings for my friend, Decrepit Gaming. I built his dragon, and it taken about 4 hours, and I actually did not enjoy building that model at all. It was a terrible model to build. There was certain parts of it that was just so annoying, and it was overcomplicated. And I actually found that with the Duke, this guy here, he was the same. There are parts of this miniature that are just, just overly complex, and there's no need. Now, one of the things I will say about these older miniatures is the simplicity. How simple and easy they are to build. And a lot of kits, even today's kits, like so the Beastman kits, are basically the same. That, you know, you've got like a main body, you stick the head and the arms onto it, and it's done. Now, is that good? Well, it really depends. Personally, I've actually really enjoyed working with these miniatures. They have been absolutely super fun to paint. Painting the Bowman for the tutorial taken me about 2 hours to paint that miniature, about two and a half hours. Bear in mind I was filming, and it was absolutely fun. My girlfriend was sat working from home in the corner of the office, and she was working away, and I just had my headphones on, recording and painting away, and it was absolutely great crack. It was great fun. So, you know, there's not much to do on cleanup wise. Now, even look at this. Like, the mold line that you would normally expect down here is not that bad. And this is from a 20-year-old mold. And it's, you know, like, this is the amount of material I'm getting off one miniature, which, to be quite honest, is not that much. You know, like, I'm not carving out anything, I'm just scraping my knife along the edge. So, you know, and I'm not just singling out Hellstorm Wargaming either. I'm also talking about other content creators, larger content creators, such like Tabletop Time, who made the statement that these miniatures are terrible because they're 20 years old, which I found quite stupid because, like, let's be fair, these miniatures have definitely got a charm to them, which I really quite like. And like I said, from a painting's perspective, they're really fun to paint. Like, look at that. There's no overt detail. And when you look at this little guy compared to this little guy, you can see the difference in the level of detail on these miniatures straight away. But I think they hold up. I do honestly think that these guys are holding up with what's coming out 20 years later. And now obviously Games Workshop have got a lot better. Digitally, they sculpt everything digitally now. I believe that these were done by hand, and I'm pretty sure the Perry twins were the guys that sculpted them originally, and they were all done by greens and by hand, and then produced in plastic, which is kind of cool. And then but yeah, absolutely awesome. Like, they go together in no time, and like, this box hasn't really taken me too long to do. To be fair, like, it's pretty cool. Straight away, they're obviously slightly smaller than modern day plastics, But yeah, the level of detail on them is still just as good. So I'm going to glue these on. I may regret gluing this arm on because I don't normally like gluing shields on miniatures. I do have that on that Cities of Sigmar because I can actually get in and around where I need to be. But yeah, you know what? That should be fine. Actually, yeah, that'll be fine. I can still paint that and do what I need to do. And get his head on. And then we'll get his arm, his halberd arm. Now the plastic seems to be the same stuff, doesn't seem to be any different. I'm wondering sometimes if they've just had a lot of this stuff sat around in a warehouse for the last 20 years or the last 10 years and they've decided just to sort of put it back out, or they have literally remanufactured it. But didn't do the front. But the mold lines are not that bad, to be completely honest. Now my only thing I would say is some of the joints for parts is a little bit annoying. To get them in, but yeah, that should dry in no time. Put my lid on my glue. But there you go. So we have the difference. Now obviously the level of detail on this miniature is far higher than a miniature from 20 years ago. And there's a lot of reasons for that, because obviously they are digitally sculpting compared to hand sculpting, which is pretty much what these are, and you can definitely see the difference. But I will say that painting wise, they definitely stand out and hold up. They look great painted up, they really do. I actually had a lot of fun painting this, and I don't think it's going to take too long to actually knock out a 20 strong unit of these. And you can actually have quite a lot of fun, and you can do a lot of detail on them as well. So yeah. So there is. You've just seen, you know, are they really bad? Not as bad as people are making them out to be, and I think a lot of the time it's hyperbolic. Also, you know, a lot of people that criticise the Games Workshop sculpts are very much into their 3D printing, and I do sometimes think that 3D printing bias definitely comes through. But let's talk about it and wrap up the video. So there you have it. Made a miniature, showed you a miniature, showed you exactly what it's like. Now I'm not necessarily saying that every single kit is going to look exactly like mine. There might be some worse ones, there might be some better ones. I might have been lucky and got ones with very few bad mold lines, but mold lines are mold lines. It doesn't matter what kit you use or build, you're always going to find mold lines on them. It's a part and parcel of playing and dealing with plastic. Even resin, you're going to get it. I think I seen in Mikey's video where he shown one of the things and the mold had slipped. You get that even in today's modern day plastic kits. You get mold slips. It happens. It's part and parcel of working with plastic. But the good thing about plastic is it's really easy to fix, it's really easy to correct, and it's really easy to clean up. And it's a little bit more forgiving. Resin, not so much. But yeah, it's just a part and parcel. And it's a part of the hobby. So you kind of just got to roll with it. It could be worse, it could be metal. and you're having to pin and super glue and everything else, or it could even be 10 times worse and be fine cast. So just be thankful that they've decided to do away with fine cast and bring back metal and resin properly, and bring back all plastics. But from a painter's perspective, I have absolutely loved these miniatures. These are absolutely amazing. There's a level of charm to them, and from painting so many of the new type of sculpted and detailed miniatures from GW to actually get something back from 20 years ago. And I think one of the biggest things as well is I'm a different painter today than I was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I hadn't won a Golden Demon finalist pin. 20 years ago, I was not a very good painter. And the difference in my painting now and how I approach painting is a very different thing from how I was 20 years ago. So, you know, there's that as well. And I think that's one of the things why when I sit and paint these miniatures, I'm like, wow, this is quite fun. And you hear terms like negative space and things like that. And it's an artistic term for basically a blank canvas. And the older miniatures have a lot of negative space. There's a lot of areas on the miniature that you can have a real sort of play with. And as a painter that really likes to get into sort of blending and glazing, and it gives you that open canvas to do it. And it's really kind of refreshing to have a miniature that isn't as packed full of detail compared to modern day miniatures like we get now. Now, don't get me wrong, I really like the new miniatures. The Cities of Sigmar range is absolutely phenomenal. I'm absolutely having a blast speed painting my Seraphon, who are literally just really high detailed, high definition lizard men. They're really, really fun as well. And building these miniatures can be just as good. They interlock really well without any seamless lines. But that doesn't take the fact that the older miniatures from 2020 to 2003, the Tomb Kings from like 93, there's just an element of charm about them. Like, if you want to see a lot of them painted in a really easy, simplest way, you should definitely check out my good friend Simon over on his channel at Decrepit Gaming. He has done a lot of painting tutorials for the chariots, the spearmen, the archers, the horses, and has shown building in as well. And he's like a little bit older than me, and he's from that generation when he remembers the original Tomb Kings coming out. And you know, it's cool to see like it bringing him back in his enjoyment of these older miniatures. And it's kind of what it is. It's the nostalgia but ramped up really higher. And it's really cool. And so yeah, I think it's definitely a sort of generational thing. Is sort of when it comes to sort of these different viewpoints on the miniatures. I think for me, I'm really liking it because of the simplisticness of these miniatures. But then on the flip side, I'm really enjoying the newer skulls because they really are like really amazingly done. So it's kind of nice. It's refreshing to have the difference in age of miniatures. So yeah. But if you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel and like, share, do all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.